Hey, everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Deezer, Stitcher, and over the 35 platforms on the Mike Wagner Show. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also, follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful gentleman from New York City, and he's in the Soho area for a very good reason. He does some event planning, entertainment, fundraising. He's also a real estate magnate, and he brings a lot of spirit of entertainment to you and a bundle of joy as well. And he'll tell you why. Every day is a blessing and a gift. He's going to explain all that. He also donated $25,000 to American Cancer Society. And this guy is just an inspiration. He just loves to keep you moving. And he's been a driving force in bringing classic music back. And he's just all over Soho, New York, all around the world. And, he provides the entertainment. And all you do is just bring yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, live from the wonderful Soho area of New York City, the very, very, very talented and a blessing to our show, Soho Johnny. Johnny, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
How are you, Mike? And thank you so much for having me on your show. And just want to start out to thank you for your contributions and everything you do and just spreading the light and the good words to all your listeners. One of the things I always say, that we all are in our own special way role models for somebody else. It doesn't matter how high on the how much money you make or what you look like. We all have a responsibility, and we imprint on each other. And it's so important that we make that a positive experience for everybody and rise everybody else up. So I just want to thank you for your show and everything that you're doing as well. And I'm blessed, and thank you for having me here today.
And you're very welcome. I mean, I could have said it better myself. I'll tell you that. It's just like, that was so heartwarming. Oh, my gosh. Took the words right out of my mouth. This is great. So you do some event planning, entertainment, fundraising. You're also into real estate, and you bring spirit of entertainment to people. You've been driving force and bringing classic music back and provide venues, full service, live events throughout New York City, and many more and everything else, festival bookings. And you just bring entertainment and joy to everybody in New York City. And before we get about talking about what you do and all your ventures, tell us how you first got started.
Well, that's a good question I get all the time. I was born in the Big Apple in Manhattan, back in the day. And then when I was a child, my parents moved me to the boogie down Bronx, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Late 60s, early 70s, and the city was a lot different back then. And it was very interesting. What I enjoy about it, people talk about the Bronx back in the day as being like a tough place to live. There was gangs, and it was a different city than it is now. And that was all true. But, one of the beauties of living in cities like that is that you're exposed to such a great spectrum of diversity of cultures. And I think that's a positive education in of itself, to work with everybody from all ethnic backgrounds, and no matter what they did. And it was, that was a positive in my life, to be experiencing and to get to know people and then grow up even with my childhood. As far as music has become such a significant part of my life. After school, and I guess I was in high school, late grammar school, high school, pretty early on. I was the class joker even in grammar school, and I always had this attention. I made people laugh. It was just a natural thing. I had cigars with the little snakes coming out. I don't know if people remember the novelties you buy in a novelty shop. And of course, I got detention probably back in the day, but actually the teachers, they try not to laugh when they brought these things in. And then, then music, classic rock back in the day. And, again, as I said, because of how the streets were, we ended up migrating, and my parents eventually, we were brought up in a house, and, my grandfather started in Soho. It's a poor man. There's many immigrant families of the day that makes America great today. But the after school, I would just go to a garage. My parents eventually bought a garage in the Bronx, and we had a garage in the back. And my friends would just migrate and invite them over, and I had some music playing, and I'd have like a little strobe light. And back then it was classic rock, and they would just hang out. And my parents and a lot of my friends' families, they know we were back then. They know we were hanging out, and of course, like they're wondering a little bit, but also they took some solace in knowing that at least we were off the street. It was like it's just like a little club thing to do after school, and it was a positive thing rather than a lot of the negativity or some of the temptations of the day of being in the inner city at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So my love of entertainment kind of grew from there over the years, and I started having parties. It was just simple as that. I just garnered a lot of inner joy, making people smile and laugh, and just taking people away from the humdrum or whatever's going on in their lives. And to this day, that's a big part of my motivation because life has its ups and downs, and we all have trials and tribulations, and that's how life is meant to be on this earth, right? It's not meant to be paradise, otherwise we wouldn't have the earth. But I always follow the light inside my heart, and I encourage people to do the same. And it just gives me so much fulfillment and puts wind in my sails to just for even if it's a temporary thing, just to put a smile or to entertain people and to make them just take them out of their life for a little bit and just give them a feel good moment here and there. For me, I think that's very special. I think it's special for many of the artists out there.
Mm-hmm.
Putting the business part of it aside and money and everything, we're starting recording some more of my own original music. I've been very blessed. I mean, as it grows, let me continue where I was left off. As it grew, I started growing bigger and bigger parties and concerts, and I brought original artists in, and I did actually a lot with classic disco, believe it or not. Bands like Tavares, and my last one last August, I had an all-day festival, so to speak, and it was pretty daunting. I did it all by myself, and I've been growing. And of course, I always try to give back because I think it's so important. Because I say if we do nothing, nothing gets done. Because there's some things in the world that have to be fixed, and certainly health-oriented things and disease is something that we just have to continue to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I chose cancer because cancer touches all of us in some ways. The statistics are alarming, and I believe that we're going to continue to make more strides, and we're going to find more cures or more. And it's not just the illness itself; it's also quality of life. So I always try to raise money in what I do. And let me tell you a little bit about my last concert. I guess people would find that very interesting. I did actually, my last bigger one was August 10th, and I actually had it in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
And I was very, very privileged to have, I don't know, many people out there may remember Danny Terrio. He used to host Dance Fever back in the day.
I remember Dance Fever. Yes. What a show.
It was, I mean, it was before all these other shows, these dance shows today, he was one of the prerequisites and one of the founders. And he taught John Travolta how to dance, for crying out loud. And
teaching John to dance? Oh my goodness.
Was
he trying to get Olivia to do the same thing or what?
Yeah, well, he was great. He came and co-hosted it with me and helped me out, and I was able to garner Tavares. Tavares is a big disco, mostly classic disco artist. This show was about. I had Tavares, Heatwave, Fonda Ray, Sharon Brown, Terry DeSario. I want to make sure I don't forget anybody. Planet Patrol, Instant Funk. People that know this genre of music would know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Man, I even had, Monty Rock III. Now, many of the listeners out there that may know him, I mean, he was on the Johnny Carson show many times, and he was on Howard Stern. He was the DJ in Saturday Night Fever. And
really?
He did the famous song, Get Dancing. And he and I became such good friends. I love him. I call him my Mr. Magnificent. And, one of the, as I was saying before, the people that come to shows like this, especially, I guess, because it touches them in their lives because of cancer, or they see, and I'm not trying, believe me, it's not about me, Mike, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's anything, it's just about, filling my satchel up with such good feelings and so much love I get back from doing these type of things. And it created a niche in me. It just grew and grew and grew, and I wanted to do more and more of it because the love I get is so valuable, and it's so touching, and I mean, it doesn't have to be cancer. I'm probably going to do one for Humane Society, but I get all these original artists, and they bandy by me. And a lot of them, they're all they just want to help. They call me up, they want to be on the show, and I'm saying to myself, here I am, just originally some guy from the Bronx, and a real estate guy from the Bronx, which I guess we'll talk about that in a minute, that ended up doing all this. And recording. I'm doing some. I did some acting recently, but nothing high enough end yet. Although I'm going in that direction. So, it's important to follow your dreams. We all have dreams or aspirations, and I encourage everybody to follow it and follow their passion. Try to keep it so that it's something that's ethical. You don't hurt anybody, but go after your goals and try to tie it to something philanthropic that's a people-oriented community thing. And if you mix that all together, like for me, it's been a blessing. It's kind of it's re-sparked my life, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm going forward, and it's built up a lot of momentum organically. I mean, I've met so many people and some fabulous artists. I mean, I have the privilege now of, I'm collaborating with the great Scott Page. I mean, he's a wonderful man. I mean, there's certain artists that people are talented, so that's one gift, and I celebrate them in that regard. But when they're also really good human beings, and they have that element of them, I think that's a separate congratulations I want to give to them as well. Okay.
Wow.
Especially in this industry. So he's done outreach. I was just in LA with him. He did a concert for the Watts Conservatory in LA because, some parts of LA are kind of sketchy here, to help bring music to the underprivileged children. And I help support him with that. And, we're involved with a lot of other artists. There's great artists like Kenny Olson. I believe he was of Kid Rock fame, and the list goes on. That are now, we're collaborating with other people to do like a really kick-ass rock concert for a benefit. And it's still in the makings. We're still talking, but the point I want to make is that you draw. I guess when you do things like that, you draw people of like kind, the band around you, and together we could do so much, and we could achieve things, and just put on a great performance, make people smile, make people feel good, tie it to something that's going to leave something of lasting importance.
And I think that's a great point you made as well too. Besides the Cancer Society and also the Humane Society as well too, what are some of the other causes you have been involved in?
What was your question, Mike? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. What are, besides the American Cancer Society and also the Humane Society as well too, what are some of the other causes you've been involved in or held concerts for certain causes?
Well, those are cancer related is definitely my main one. It will always be my main one. Okay. I lost my dad to it and my cousins, and all too early because, and again, it's not just all about cures when it comes to this, Mike. It's about quality of life. It's quality of life to keep them healthy, as healthy as possible, and to nobody lives forever. It's quality of life to extend life extension, and how they're going to live it, and also how it affects their family. A lot of this money goes to the family psychologically when family hears that someone's ill with a possible terminal illness. I know for myself, that it's a scary thing, so. It's so important that we have outreach for those type of things, but not just cancer. Humane Society, because I'm a very avid animal lover, and many people are. I'll tell you an interesting story that would probably make everybody laugh. Yeah, I did a fundraiser maybe about 10 years ago for the Humane Society, and I did it in Soho. And it was in the middle of the winter. It was one of those freezing days that you just want to cuddle up. But I had a DJ, a famous DJ, a friend of mine, Johnny Rocks, and we had to figure out what else we had there. And I raised some money for Humane Society of New York. It was great. But then, what happened is and I don't say this in a judgmental way, okay, because everything in moderation, right? But I had some ladies that were contributing, but they showed up with fur coats.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm naive with all this. I wasn't
Oh.
thinking about this, except for I had some people complaining to me and saying, Soho Johnny, how could you allow this here? And I'm saying, I'm kind of in the middle. These are nice people here, and they took fur coats. Maybe they don't even realize that it's cold outside. Put on a fur coat. They may not even realize that. And but funny things like that happen. But you try to keep your eye on the bouncing ball on the big picture with these type of things. And many doors have opened for me. I consider myself blessed, and it's very, very important to me. I mean, as we go through our lives, I mean, the most important thing, when we're at the end of our lives and we look back, is not how much money you're going to have in the bank. The true riches are the people that really love you at the end, that are going to say kind things about you sincerely, and the type of human being you have. And those are the true riches that we take with us. And I'm not getting into religion. Everybody's entitled to their own beliefs, but I believe it counts. I really believe it counts, and it's important to me. And I just hope I'm doing my part here and what I'm doing. And I'm looking forward to creating some great music, collaborating with Scott Page. I'm going to be doing a few duets with some of the other artists. People such as my friend Star Hansen's in the works, maybe CC Peniston. These are all beautiful people and great artists in their own right. And there's a lot down the pike for that. But just to backtrack a little bit, I think you mentioned real estate. When my grandfather came here, he was a poor guy, and they kind of, I guess you could say that they were recycling before recycling was considered such a great thing to do, just to put a couple of pennies and taking cardboard and probably selling it for a couple of pennies.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward that, my family bought some small properties in Soho, which was mostly manufacturing back in the day. Okay. I remember as a kid with these hand trucks and working with my dad and these big metal hooks, and these guys were like so big and strong, and they had to be back in the day. It was hard work, but God bless. I started delving a little bit more into the real estate end of it, in probably the early 1980s, and I built some real estate up with my family backing me. I have a younger brother, Ronald, who's wonderful. He and his wife are wonderful. Two great nephews, and I was blessed to have a dad and good parents. And, a lot of people, I consider myself blessed. There's no perfection in life, right? But I think no matter what you do, it's so important to keep the faith and always try to be there for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big picture, and try not to be too verbose with you here, Mike, in the interview. But that's truly in my soul.
And I have to say this too, you're just a genuine person, just talking to you as well too, not just an entertainer, but a very genuine person. We'll talk a little about your real estate, more about your business and some other things. And I'm learning a lot too, by the way. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking a budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Right, Johnny? You take it to the next level. Also, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Deezer, Stitcher, and over 35 platforms with Mike Wagner Show. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the very wonderful and very talented, very generous, compassionate, and very genuine, down-to-earth Soho Johnny out of the Soho area. And we just talked a lot about the impact he's made on people's lives and ventures and everything. And as he says, every day is a blessing and a gift. So
if we could all wake up with that and just have that in our mind. I mean, just go and put a smile on someone's face. Just that little bit from everybody is so important, and it will make a difference. People ask how to follow my show. I mean, I have a website, sohojohnny.com. and I'm on Facebook too. I mean, everything's all about social media now, right? So Soho Johnny LLC on Facebook, and John Soho Johnny Pasquale is my personal page.
Okay.
Actually, I have to do a second page because there's only so many, and probably have to call up Facebook to extend how many listeners there. And I'm not a tech expert yet, but we all need to, as we were saying before the show, we all need to adapt and weave to the tech revolution as we go along.
and, and I think we talked about as well too that some things used to last a lifetime, like with cars, furniture, appliances. 20 years, if something breaks down, you call a repairman, and that's how they make their money. But now it's just like, if it breaks down 3 to 5 years, just buy a brand new one. So I think some of us are still trying to get the idea, but but of course in entertainment, that stuff never dies. It just keeps going and going and going. And just like real estate and your show and everything else. And of course, entertainment, you also provide a lot of fun and everything else throughout New York City. And also, maybe you can just tell us about some of the bigger things you've done as well, too. And what do you have planned for 2020?
Well, as I say, I have a couple of shows planned that are going to be another step up with people such as Scott Page. I'm still planning to do my classic disco show. I'm bringing original artists. Of course, that's probably going to be Cancer. And I'm recording some of my original music now. So stay tuned. I'm going to come out with some, I'm inspired. I mean, I think it's the passion within me that so many people share as well. And it's interesting, Mike, have I noticed, and I guess it's just a parallel analogy in life with other things too, but certainly in music, some of the greatest musical compositions that have been created or artistry has come from, dealing with oppression or adversity in life, or dealing with trauma or whatever. And that's the human spirit that rises above and gets through it. And I'm not saying making light of it, saying it's not easy. We all go through some terrible tragedies. Unfortunately, that's the way life is. But, those of us that make it to the other side or deal with a loss, whatever, we're human. So that feeling inside, that type of energy to get through it inspires people to create. It could be a love ballad, or it could be a broken heart ballad, or somebody losing somebody that you love, or dealing or caring for somebody, whatever it is, or just that, hurt inside, or dealing with an illness. All of that, and dealing with handicap, people. There's some great artists that don't have their sight, and yet they do such beautiful music, right?
And of course, it's so obvious too. Obviously, you have Ray Charles, and it was a Stevie Wonder. I'm sorry, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and I think Ronnie
Absolutely.
Millsap was just amazing. And the one guy I think was so amazed, but I was surprised he had that one hit. I think was it Angel Eyes? I think it was a Canadian. It was Jeff. I think it's Jeff Healy. That's right. And the way he played it, it was just beautiful. I admire people like that who have certain handicaps, and you're right. They just make up for it and play tremendous music. It's like, give our big kudos to those who overcome.
They are role models. They are role models. So many people will say, "Oh my God, I lost my eyesight," and even for myself, I don't know how I'll take it. It's easy to just sit here and talk about it. As I say, it's not about me, but it's about the journey of the human spirit and rising above, and to be able to create beauty and to give that to the world, and having a handicap like that. I think it's so special, and it's I'm optimistic about human nature when you see things like that. Okay. And there's so much great creativity out there. That's part of what my platform does, is encourages that. Okay. I encourage that creativity. I encourage new artists. I have new artists coming to me that I might be managing some, or promoting some of them, or working out some deals. They come to me. I don't like to just deal with anybody, because I never want to overpromise and underdeliver. I'm very, very ethical. But
Right.
But I'm getting a lot of that too, and I want to put my best foot forward here for all these people, because they're out there and they're putting their heart and soul into it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and once you see that, I mean, they may not have all the puzzle pieces together, but together we could get something done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is for any big project. That's the way it is for charity. That's the way it is for disease. We all need to remain united. and to keep our eye on the main ball.
Mm-hmm.
Soho Johnny's not political. Everyone's entitled to believe what they want. I'm just talking about the main important things of life. We're all in it together. And so important to keep that unity and bond, to be there for each other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it. It's part of my life. I pray that I express that and touch people in that way, because I hope I could inspire in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And with my platform, recording, that's born from my passion and things that I feel. It's funny. I've spoken to other artists too, and it's the same thing. It's almost like you have this drive or force inside you that you have to do something, that I just want to share. You get a little taste of this, and I've been doing it in my later life here. And now I'm saying I have all these feelings, or a draw from something or an experience I dealt with in my youth. And I want to put it out there and touch people, and they identify with it. And it's a time warp. Music is a time warp. It brings you back. When you hear, like, how many times do you hear a great song that you love that you haven't heard in many years, and all of a sudden you're there with your first crush, or you're there, with this first experience, or your first heartbreak, or your first, whatever it is. It could be the joyous, the failures, and the the disastrous victories, or if you want to, whatever you want to call it. But it's part of life, and music is a companion. Music is a companion that makes life go by a little bit easier. And I think it said, "He who sings praise twice."
Mm-hmm.
And I believe
And
that.
and I think that's a great point too. And also, you're a singer as well too. Maybe you can just tell us about some of the songs that you've done. Maybe you can sing one for us.
Well, you got a little bit on the spot here, but I just did something. It was just a little jingle called "Coasting to Delight" with a buddy of mine, Thomas Docker of True Groove Records, and I'm not going to sing it right now because I may be a little bit off key, because I try to get myself in the right zone. Okay,
Uh-huh.
but but I have what's really driving me right now is a love ballad, and that is in the making. I haven't finished writing it, but I have that. I wanted something to be very upbeat. Okay. I compare "Coasting to Delight" as to something that would be akin to those of us remember the Archie "Sugar Sugar."
Oh, I
So
remember that. One of my favorites. Sugar, sugar, do do do.
it was great. It was like,
Oh,
you want to call it bubblegum music, but it won all these awards, and it was on everyone's tongue to this day. It was a great song, but it was a happy, happy song.
oh, clearly was written by Ron Dante. I had him on my show, and he's this fantastic writer, and he's one that discovered Barry Manilow and got him over the top. I mean, something like that, just little known, then all of a sudden just exploding to new heights. Is like, those are stories that I love hearing about.
And then we touch about life experiences. That's the one that I'm driven to right now. Some type of love ballad or unrequited love or anything, because I want to reach that person that's in the house that maybe a little bit down. I want to reach the person that is betwixt and between. I want to reach that person and just turn a little switch there and lift them up. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
if my music, and sometimes, music can just make you cry, right?
Right,
But,
exactly.
crying is, despite what a lot of people think, crying is a healthy thing to do. When you're dealing with things that life throws at you, or loss, crying is the body's way to help release that energy. And crying is a way so that the human spirit to rise above and to go forward and to
Mm-hmm.
say, "I'm okay. This is life." And, it's so important for us to love ourselves, not in a selfish way, but love ourselves, because when you love yourself, it puts you in a much better compatible position to love somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, in our school system, they don't teach us exactly. I mean, they'll teach you biology, they'll teach you math and everything, and there's some good universities. But then certainly not with my academic background. They didn't really teach you about having a great relationship. You
Mm-hmm.
know, our role models are what you see on the streets, or someone's relationship, certainly our own parents. And listen, life isn't perfect. A lot of us didn't have parents, or they didn't stay together, or whatever the case may be. But I think there should be more of that, just to encourage like how to really be in a positive relationship. It doesn't matter whom, what sex, whatever. It doesn't matter. But sharing your time with somebody else and just being having wholesome relationships, because that's
Mhm.
another thing that, that increases the bigger picture of what life is all about. And
Mhm.
another target of what I want my music to reach out
Mhm.
to.
And of course you touched on that as well too, with a community togetherness and everything else. And I read an article about that in a newspaper where in this nation we're becoming more and more and more divided and not enough communities. Where many years ago there was always communities. You had someone to run to, support, defend, and everything else. Now, all of a sudden, with all this division and everything going on, some people blame social media, some blame technology, and leadership or whatever else. And I have to say, it's just like, despite this dividing and everything, and I would just say, how can people help bring communities back?
Well, I would make an analogy here that music is almost like the Geneva Convention. Okay.
Hmm.
Because you can have people of all differences of opinion and get them together for a common thing that they love music, and get them together, and just getting them together in a room and just breaking the ice, I think, is important too. Listen, having differences of opinion is not bad. It's good. It's part of what makes our system work. Our system isn't the most perfect system, but I think it's the best system. I
Hmm.
don't think there is a perfect system, but I think just having some common denominator things and getting people together can only be good. It can't be bad to enjoy. And music, just pure and unadulterated joy of music, and give back. And I'm talking about music, also acting. I'm doing some acting now. I'm delving, and I have a couple opportunities I may be going on to as well. And I just want to reach out and touch people. It's not just like about money. And I'm not trying. I'm not trying to talk about myself. Okay, I'm just trying to explain myself. Okay, here with you. It's about. I just feel it's just something that is. It's just to feel good, just to have that expression, or just to, like for one part that I'm speaking to somebody else. I want to play a priest, for a troubled person. Okay,
Hmm.
see that going. And I'm not going to be the perfect priest. Okay, but I just want to be like a real life human being, but just kind of like, you know set the rules or just set directions in life. And I'd love to play a part like that. I'm talking to someone now about that.
Hmm. And I think that's a great role model you're setting as well too. We'll talk a little more about the music and also being an actor as well too. And we'll get to some real estate. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Stitcher, Deezer, and more, and over 35 platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also, follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Soho Johnny from the Soho area of New York, and he's just been a great inspiration. Learning a lot from him when it comes to life, relationships, music, feel good, and being part of the entertainment agency and how he got started, and talking about music, acting, and touching the soul. And I feel touched right now by Soho Johnny, and just you've been fantastic. And just a couple of things here before we talk about real estate, which I'm also fascinated on. And when it comes to music, who are your favorite singers and artists growing up?
Well, some of my favorite for the classic rock, I'm a major Who fan. Okay, and being that I'm a male vocalist, I guess Pete Townsend, the two remaining original members are Pete Townsend, of course, we all know, and Roger Daltrey,
Mm-hmm.
which I think are great. And I'd love to be able to have an opportunity of collaborating, maybe with Roger, with some type of vocal, whatever. And of course all the main ones are sort of big. If you go to classic rock, you think Pink Floyd. Of course, you think about the Stones and stuff like that. The Who happens to be one of mine. I just remember playing that album in the garage when I was a teenager with my
Oh
friends.
my gosh.
Back in the day. I'm not going to say what year it was. My God, we're going back. But people ask, one question I get a lot, Mike, is like the tie-in with real estate and what I'm doing. And I guess if there's a tie-in, we all know that the retail. I'm in commercial real estate, and my website is peprealestate.com, like PEP, like Peter Edward Peter Real Estate, all spelled out.com. And what's interesting is the retail landscape, as we all know, has been affected because of the internet commerce, people buying a shirt over online and not have to walk into a brick and mortar store.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So one of the innovative things that I've done in real estate before it was so prevalent and so popular is I would do pop-ups, okay?
Uh-huh.
Pop-ups or events, okay? And where the retailers would come in and they would be not committing to a 10-year lease like the old model was. Let's say, okay, can we do a 6-month pop-up and just see how it goes? And that became a much bigger part of the retail landscape. So I'm collaborating with a few different people, and Scott, I'm working on that as well, because the ones that are still brick and mortar, okay, and there'll always be some retail brick and mortar. It's never going to go away, especially in destinations that have, let's say malls that people congregate, that have a place for your kids, that you can see a movie, you're going to eat and things like that. But a big part of that's very important is what's called experiential. Okay, you're not just going to buy a shirt. You're going to have experience. In some areas, like in the world, like Soho is kind of like a small historic area that's like a mini mall. So it's somewhat insulated there too. So I ended up, created I'm just not done with it, something called the eventpopup.com that I'm going to offer some solutions to add more traction for a lot of these retailers, because it's important. I feel terrible if some of these mom and pop businesses go out of business because they can't survive with the large company landscape that's out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. And of course, I admire what you do, and just go to one, support retail, event pop-ups and everything else. And of course, I was also going to ask you about acting as well too, since you mentioned you did a few films yourself, a few bit parts. And who are some of your favorite actors and actresses growing up, and also some of your favorite movies you enjoyed?
Well, favorite actor. Wow, that's a lot of good ones. I was just at the Grammys this past Sunday, but actors, I want to say, it's hard not to think of Al Pacino, The Irishman. That was a great movie.
The Irishman, yes, we saw it. Fantastic.
It was amazing. I think it was a little bit long. There was a lot of what they call, I think the technique is called foreshadowing, where they'll just show, like, I think Robert De Niro driving in his car, just pensively thinking for a little bit here, and they don't really have anything but that, and people are just wondering what's on his mind. They could have cut that back a little bit. That was almost an expensive experiment by Netflix, as many of us know, about $150 million. And in order to be eligible for the Academy, I could be wrong, but my understanding is in order to be eligible for an Academy Award, you had to be on the big screen in theaters, which explains why it was only on the big screen in theaters just for a short period of time, and then just defaulted to Netflix very, very quickly.
Yeah, so, I did read about that, and I had Scott Manganiello on. He played one of the guards, and I had a fantastic experience working with De Niro and Pacino. And when I read about that, and I got the impression it was going to be in every city. And where I'm at, I'm looking, and it's like, when's it going to come to our theater? And they realized it was only in select theaters, short time, then it goes to Netflix. I have to say, I was rather bummed about not going to a theater, but that was a smart move by Netflix. Very risky, but it turned out to be a good move.
And I live in Westchester County, New York, and there's a place called the Bedford Playhouse, and by happenstance, one of the top movies internationally right now, they did a screening, and the top the director and the main lead, and forgive me, I don't remember exactly their names because they're South Korean. But the name of the movie was it The Parasite?
Parasite.
The Parasite, right? I have Gail here prompting me. And Gail, I got to say, Gail was wonderful. She's my spine, my backbone. Made sure she got the Skype set
you know
up.
what? Why don't you ever come on in? I don't know if you had any pets
Yeah,
in the background or anything. You can just bring those in too, since you're are the Humane Society cause and everything else. But
she's a little reluctant to get. Oh, good. I think I got her. Come over here, Gail.
Hi, just a quick hello. This guy is amazing. He's amazing.
Gail. Welcome to the Mike Wagner Show.
No, that's it. I'm going now, but I just want to tell you, this guy is amazing what he does out there.
And of course, you guys do a great job.
Gail helps keep everything together here for me because it's like a complex insanity inside my head, and I need someone to keep me on the right track. And she's definitely in my wheelhouse, and I love her for that. Thank you so much, Gail.
Oh my goodness.
we all need,
And that's the best way to keep marriages going as well too. Just have a little fun and spontaneity like that. Figure complexes. That's a full-time job right there. It's good.
Well, Gail has been my assistant, and she's wonderful. She keeps everything going.
God bless you.
Oh, that is so amazing. I mean, you guys just work so well. Oh my goodness. And I think we did touch on some of your real estate, and I think we had covered some of the things you offer. Is there anything that's missing from there we didn't cover?
Well, SohoJohnny.com, PepRealEstate.com, PEP, the event pop-up that's in the works right now. But I think my record label is now being finalized, Soho Records, okay, which is just fostering and working with artists that are either emerging or even established artists right now. And, it's it's a lot of fun. It's work. I mean, listen, it's important to work and to get up every day and have a function every day. But I look forward to it. If you like what you do, and not that you like it every moment, okay, no jobs like that. I don't care what you do. It's 50% of the battle. Like, for instance, these artists that go on tour and everything, people see, oh, they do such a great show, or they're rich or famous. Oh my God, I want to have their life. So let me just tell you the other side of that. First of all, the amount of work that goes into putting a show and the production is really daunting. I can tell you because I've done it, and I didn't do it on a mega scale yet, okay, although it seems like I'm climbing the ranks. There's so much that goes into it. But the artists themselves, and by the way, when I do a show for the artists, they all know that, the ones that have been to I treat them like royalty. They're not just coming here to work the show. I tell you, they come at the door, I say, listen, we're family. Thank you for teaming up for me, especially we're working towards a charity. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I treat them like family because I think that's the way it's supposed to be. But the artists that are out there all the time, you and I maybe, or I can certainly speak for myself, if you have a bad back, you pull out your back, or something happened in your life, you don't feel like getting up in front of maybe 1 million people or being on the air, right? These artists that are on show, that are on tour, for instance, it doesn't matter. They got to put their best full on every single show, and that's trying. And, a lot of artists, they turn to certain drugs or prescription drugs or anything, and you always got to be careful about that, for pain or whatever. But it's so important to to recognize that it's not always peaches and roses on the other side. It's also a contribution that they make and dedication that they make.
And of course, you're really good at your craft as well too. And I think you hit on the head. And I think of the Geico lizard, if you enjoy what you do, it's not considered work.
If you love what you do, and I mean, I did a small Christmas gig in the West Greenwich Village, Manhattan, and I was performing with Kim Sledge, Sister Sledge, and Michael Muscle came to support me, and that was another small cancer thing. Leon Robinson and the Peoples. Leon was he was the lead actor in the Temptations movie. Who else was in that? Gail? Oh yeah, Rainier Martin. She's a kick-ass Donna Summer tribute gal. I love her. Who else? Oh, Strafe, my buddy Strafe. That was a club song. We all know him from this. Set it off on the left, y'all. Set it off on the right, y'all. Set it off.
Oh,
Strafe,
yeah.
and there was a disco band called Debonair Casanova. And, we pulled, it was a small party. We pulled off, of course, a little bit for cancer there. And, and that was something I just pulled out in the last minute. And, I, like many people out there, I'm the procrastinator, kind of wait for the last minute. But everything I just said about trying to get things done and make sure the artists are signed up and make sure the transportation's done and make sure everything, the food's done. It's like doing a wedding. It's like planning a wedding for your daughter. Okay, everything has got to be done right. And I am, by my nature, a perfectionist. Okay, if my name's on it, I want everybody, no matter what side, whether you're in the audience or working the production, to have a great experience, and I want everybody to feel good about it. And thank God I've been able to do it. But now with the bigger and better ones, it's going to be more of a collaboration. It's because once you get to that size, you need like great guys like Scott Page. I'm so privileged to be able to work with an artist and a tech guy like that. I mean, he comes from the original Pink Floyd guys. I mean, that's better than that. I love Scott.
I had him on too. Great saxophone player, along with him and Supertramp. Just fantastic. I mean, I'm ready to go play some Pink Floyd right now after this, and you can join us well too to listen to Scott Page on the saxophone. That'd be great.
What's funny? I was with Scott a lot these last couple of weeks. I was in Anaheim for the NAMM concert. The NAMM, it's NAMM Jam. It's the NAMM conference, which is it's like a giant Jacob Javits convention center where they have all these businesses that cater to the trade, like guitar companies and ever. But there's all mini concerts because all these artists are kind of congregated around there. So from there, the next week, I was kind of piggybacking, hang out with Scott and a lot of these other artists. And I was seeing he was going from gig to gig, and I was trying to keep up with him. I said, Scott, you're wonderful. How do you do this? And we ended up going to the Grammys again at the end. And he said, we finally were both petered out. But just to talk about how we just did. But somebody like him, his heart is in it. He's so passionate. His heart is in it. He's a wonderful guy. We went to meet Sue Wong, who's a fashion icon and a wonderful person with a group of friends. And she may be collaborating with us too for this concert from a fashion angle or maybe a museum angle. She took a bunch of us a tour of her house. She bought a house, a mansion in LA, I forget what section of LA it is, but it was originally owned by MGM. And it had so much history that she was going to it. She restored it. The house itself was a work of art, and I commended her for restoring this art. It was owned by MGM. Marilyn Monroe was there. I guess she had some problems, and they sent her there for a while. Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and the list goes on and on and on of all these great artists that were there or lived for a while. Howard Hughes owned it for a while. It has a great history, and she bought it. And she took it on and she restored that place, and it's very, very beautiful. So we may be collaborating with her, and she's a wonderful person as well. And she, again, is another person talking about outreach, So it's coincidence that, I guess, birds of a feather flock together, and you kind of attract the same people that have that feeling of wanting to do something and make a difference. And I've been blessed in having a lot of that around me.
And that is so true too. I mean, you put a lot of things in perspective, and I commend you that, Johnny. Thank you very much. You're fantastic. And a couple of things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I'm sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you.
Who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
Ooh, well, it depends on what category. As far as just being a human being, I would say my dad, may he rest in peace. Okay. The comment I made about having true riches when you die, having people to really love you, was my dad. My dad worked hard, but he had a business, and what was telltale about him is that no matter who worked for him or who knew him, who did business with him, or anybody, it could be somebody down the block, okay, or it could be a homeless person on the street. My dad was, I know he's in a good place now because of the person he was, because everybody would say something kind about my dad. And he left me with the best blessing of all. Okay. He died of cancer, which is a big part of why I'm all about cancer. And he told me on night when he was towards the end, he said, John, he says, I know that when I go, nobody's going to miss me more than you. And that's a gift. What better gift can somebody give their loved one when they're passing this earthly plane? So I'm very blessed for that, and I hope I touch other people, because that's why every day truly is a blessing and a gift, Mike.
You put it so well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
The best advice I would give: follow your passion. Follow your passion. Try to do something that's going to make a difference for other people. Tie it with that, and be real. Don't be afraid to put the work in. Don't be afraid to give up, and remember that you need to fall on your face a few times. Remember that's important, because part of success is to fail. You fail, then you succeed, and you just keep going. All right? Have people around you. Try to have a circle of people around you that are sincere and give you good advice. But, try to do something in life that's going to give back to you, not just a salary and not just money. Okay? Try to do something in life that makes a difference. And what will stick with you is when it's doing something positive for other people. Okay? That's what's going to stick with you, and it's going to fill you up in ways that many people don't realize, especially when they're younger.
And that is very good advice. And Soho Johnny, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. And love to have you back on later on in 2020. Keep us up to date. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase say like with your music, where to go or anything like that? Or any final thoughts?
Soho Johnny, SohoJohnnyNNY.com, Soho Johnny LLC on Facebook, John Soho Johnny Pasquale, Pasquale, on Facebook, and email john@sohojohnny.com. That's my gateway to the world right now, and I want to thank you again, Mike, for all you do, and truly, every day is a blessing, and I just hope that even right now that we're reaching out and touching people, and I know you are all the time as well.
That's right. And you usually say every day is a blessing and a gift. And once again, big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. And do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love to have it back on again.
With much love and appreciation, Mike. God bless. Remember, everybody, put a smile on someone's face tomorrow. I don't care how small it is. Let's all make a little difference tomorrow. It doesn't matter how small. Put a smile on someone's face tomorrow, everyone that's out there listening. God bless you.